You have to do 3 days of training.
I have to do that?
Yeah, you guys all have to do that if you're on that committee.
Oh, no, I'll do it.
That?
I haven't heard that, but
Okay.
in person or Zoom? Probably Zoom, right?
I think it's Zoom. It's like 3 8-hour days of
Oh, well, that's a little bizarre.
BIPOC training.
Oh man, they may pay you for it,
I think so. I think the teachers made a
but I don't
system.
care about the money anymore. That's
You have the time for it?
I'm way beyond money at this point.
You could just write while it's go play it in the background or something.
Yeah, that's true too. If it's on Zoom, I can fake it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I better call that guy and make sure he's. I was trying to wait till they were going to send out, the HR is going to send out some stuff, and I haven't heard yet. So
I'm kind of curious what the applicants will be from out of state. My guess is you'll get some from all over the nation.
well, yeah, because they want to move to Santa Barbara, and if they have a job waiting, it's really good.
Right. And they're going to let them interview over Zoom so they don't have to travel and be out
Yeah.
for it.
And it depends on they will have experience because they probably wouldn't dare apply if they didn't have a certain amount of experience. They may not have educational background, which will bring their pay down a little, but they could move to Santa Barbara because they could get an old house, I guess, if there are any old houses left, and fix it up, right? Because we're assuming they're going to be carpenters,
right,
or contractors. So
supposedly Mike was saying that the pay difference between if you have your master's or your PhD isn't that much, supposedly, like as far as your salary goes.
well, I mean, I don't know what he means by that much. It's not a huge amount, but
A couple $1,000 or something.
yeah, it's a few thousand. It may even be as much as $5. I have my PhD, but I also have a lot of experience, so I'm at the top of my scale. I mean, there's nowhere up to go, but I don't know when guys come in. I have to find out.
So are you kind of thinking of going for somebody that has the higher level education in addition to having their contractor license, kind of?
No,
Not necessarily.
I don't care at all.
Okay.
Because like Rodney, I'm not even sure he finished his AA degree, and he would be a totally fine chair. I mean,
Right.
I wouldn't even blink about offering him the chair.
So the main thing is just, do you have your contractor's license and do you have experience in the field?
Well, not even contractor's license. That would help. We all, I had a contractor's license. We all have. I mean, that would help because that's part of it. But more so their ability to teach, if they can't relate to students, or they can't articulate stuff, then that's not so good.
You think James will apply?
I don't know. He's been rumoring that he might. The problem with James doing it, if he gets selected, this other guy is going to just forget about it. And then
Right.
James will retire in a year or two. And then we're back to where we were. So,
Well, Mike and I were talking about that too. And hasn't James had a heart attack already, like recently?
yeah. He survived a heart attack. I think he's got stents, and he's survived cancer too.
Wow.
I mean, he's a strong guy, obviously, or he wouldn't
Yeah.
even be alive. But I don't know why he doesn't want to relax. God, he's worked his whole life, his ass off. Right?
Right. Yeah, he was telling me he's still doing like 70-hour weeks and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's time he just.
that?
I just freaking retire, and he likes Costa Rica. They go down there a lot. They should just get a place down there and retire.
For this new person that comes in, are they going to have to still kind of let James and Rodney teach the classes that they're currently teaching and teach the other ones, or can they kind of come in and do whatever they want?
They can do whatever they want, but most guys would, defer to the structure that was there.
Right.
You're
not worried about somebody coming in and changing your
Well,
hopefully.
that would be something we try to detect in the interview.
Right.
You know, you can tell the bossy types and the arrogant types, and then you have to probe and see how they would be, because it's a team. You know, they not only have to get along with the other teachers, but they have a dean, they have staff that's in charge of our program. You know, they have the people that are in charge of the Wake Center. They have committees that they're going to be on. So there's a lot of community, you know, cooperation that goes on.
Yeah, they have to be kind of community minded. What was your feeling with that Daniel guy? Do you think he would you know come in and change a lot of stuff, or do you think he would, you know?
No, I think he'd just change some things.
Okay.
You know, the great thing about him is he's really, I can tell his heart's into sustainability. And that's the way building's going. And that colors everything else for me. You know, I mean, he was scared. You know, I could critique his lessons, but my God, they were his first lessons, and you know, he had a class, and the students liked him, and so. And I know you learn that stuff when you come into a new kind of career. You know, you're pretty green, you know, or naive, you know.
Right.
So, but he knows a lot, and I remember he had all those little visual aids and stuff. He had a suitcase full of stuff that he pulled out. That's a good thing.
Yeah, he has teaching experience, definitely.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I get the vibe from him that he will keep students the whole class period and talk like the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now he's a little bit like, he's more like me than the other two guys. He's more of an intellectual, and you know, he can talk a lot. And you know, it's funny, I noticed that. I talk too much.
Stop him. Right?
Yeah.
Had to get him to stop out.
Yeah. So but he'll learn that. That's just, you know.
Reading your audience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he's got to do. He'll be fine. He's smart, and he's got a lot of experience, and he's got some good direction. So, but you know, who knows who else will apply. So,
yeah, you might get somebody great from the East Coast or something.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's a hard combination to get somebody that can teach and that has that much experience, you know.
How long of a period of time do you have? Do you have from in a couple weeks all the way till fall to find somebody, or?
Well, it's a fall job, so I don't know. They'll tell us. I don't know what. I haven't heard. That's probably part of the training I'm going to go to.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's cool.
I got to get on it. I've been so overwhelmed with this work I'm doing. But I got to get back and pay attention to that.
I'm glad you got it approved and everything. Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if Mike did it or he was talking to Alan, and Alan said, yeah, why not? You know, who knows, but I'm happy about it.
I think it was a lot of the teachers that voted. I was talking to my organic chemistry teacher, and he was one of the people that
really
at the top of the list. Yeah, because they rank the program.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just put you up at the top.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was a pretty foolproof case just from the history of it.
Yeah.
You know, so I was pretty confident, but you know, you never know.
Yeah, I think top, you were up towards the top, and then like nursing, and I think there was another like PE.
Yeah, they have to do those because you know we have a contract with Cottage to provide these, to educate and provide these, you know, nursing and certain other things besides nursing. You know, what do you call it, the technicians, you know.
Right.
And so that's got to keep flowing. That's really important. So that always takes, and that's Alan's baby too. He does nursing and CT stuff. So
programs always fill those nurse programs.
Yeah. So they get a lot of opportunity. And I think they've gotten all along the way. And I think they felt it was finally our turn.
You know, it was kind of a bummer to hear though, is the marine diving not getting it.
I know.
That head of department's retiring, and I know.
And that's an important, you know, this importance will go down with fossil fuel use being curtailed, you know, because a lot of it's oil industry work. But I still think, you know, there's people have to go down and dive and salvage and clean up accidents, and there's a million things divers do besides fossil fuel industry work. So, you know, it's the same thing. The guy who did my porch, weatherproof my balcony. We were chatting. I've known him for a long time. He sent his secretary to our school to take a blueprint reading years ago. That's pretty great. And we were chatting, and he said, what we really need is more tinsmiths, sheet metal workers. And I said, yeah, no kidding. That's a really dying trade. And that he does roofing and sheet metal. They do both. And a lot of these things like welding is another one that schools don't offer, but welding and sheet metal is still really important. All of our appliances are still made out of, most of our HVAC still made out of sheet metal. Although, the new heat pump things are more plastic than metal now, but still, there's a lot of stuff. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a cool industry. There's a lot of creativity involved in it, bending metal to your needs.
Definitely.
But, everything's changing, right? Trades change, things come in, go out.
It's amazing how difference of a price that certain welders will have. Like I got some welding done, and one guy was charging $100 an hour, and I found this guy down by the zoo, and he's like this old welder guy, and he charged like $40 or something.
These old guys, I know, I see it all the time. They don't really charge enough. They don't have to gouge people, but they need a more, living wage charge. And they just don't, because they're not in it for the money. They're just
like $40 versus like 300.
Yeah. They don't have a lot, but they're, you talk to these old craftsmen and they are tradespeople, and they're happy because they had a really, their life was really interesting, and they did things for people. They created things for industry or people. And I know we have a guy that we got some a chair cover, upholstery covers, and my wife knew this guy done some stuff for Arigato, the restaurant, and God, he just charged nothing, and he spent hours, days doing these, and he was 80, so he was getting ready to retire. But I thought, God, and he did great work, and I just thought, man, I see that all the time. Anyway, let's get to the test, huh?
Yeah, why not?
We'll rip through this because I know you guys already know it. So what is the, I'm just going to read the questions, huh? What is the U factor of a window? So be able to explain that. Your window handout has all this stuff on it. So if you just have that accessible. And know the relationship between U value and R value. It's either one's 1 over the other. R is 1 over U, U is 1 over R. So if a U factor is 1, what's the R value?
Also 1.
Also 1. Okay. If the U value is 0.25.
4.
Yeah, 4. 1 over 0.25 multiplied top and bottom by 4. Okay. Then there's a lot of those definitions I gave you that are on the sticker for Windows. And one is solar heat gain coefficient. So I'm going to ask you what that measures. And they'll just tell you in that sentence after the name of it in that window handout. And then know what visible transmittance means. That's another one of those standards on the window. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions on E coatings because that's really relevant and important stuff. But that's not going to go away. That's going to be a part of the industry. They'll improve it. But so E coatings do mostly 2 things. They do many things, but the two most used things are keeping heat from coming in and keeping heat from going out. And it's the same coating that does both of those. Now, why is that? because it's got these little metal flecks in the window, and the heat coming from the inside reflects back and the heat from the outside reflects back. They do other things. And what else can e-coatings do?
Don't they like stop certain types of radiation from coming in?
Yeah, like UV, say, right? Okay, good. And what do they do that we don't want them to do, but they have to do it because they stop visible light? When you're putting a coating on, so it's going to stop all light. You want it to stop the heat light, the infrared, and you want it to stop the UV. You don't want it to stop the visible light, but you can't help it. It's going to cut it down. So what does that look like when you stop some of the visible light from coming in?
It's a darker.
Yeah, it darkens the field a little bit, grays it or blues it or whatever the film cast is. And usually those things are so light, you don't, unless you have a clear window next to it, then you can really see the difference. But it's like wearing sunglasses. You get so used to it, you don't know that it's altering the color of what you would normally see in daylight. So the stickers on the window are required by the government, by the National Fenestration Rating Council. And so building inspectors require them. And again, if you don't, you can make your own windows or have companies that make them that don't, the companies aren't listed with this thing. So you have to have some kind of testing done on it. Now remember, R value you want higher, right? R22 is better than R18, yes? U value, because it's a reciprocal, is the opposite. You want it lower than, as low as you can get it. So 0.25 is better than 0.5 U value. Now, I'm not going to ask you this, but when they put e-coatings on, they only put them on the inside surfaces of the window. And you have since everything's double pane by law now, how many surfaces do you have? 1, 2, 4, right? The in and outside of the outside window, the in and outside of the inside window. But you can only put it on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces. No. Let me draw this out. Yeah, you can only put it on 2 surfaces. Why is that?
It gets
You can
dirty.
only put it on the inside.
Because what?
Because you can only put it on the inside. And
Yeah, why can you only put it on? Why must you only put it on the inside?
Because it would get dirty and damaged on the
Yeah.
exteriors.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much stuff going on the outside, wind, sand, cleaning, you clean them yourself and it all messes with that. So you never put them where they can be touched. So it's always on the into, and in the into, it depends on what you need from those, where you put them. I won't ask you which they go. Passive solar heating, remember that? So that's allowing the sun to come in your house and heat up what do we call it? Thermal mass, right? So you want all the sun infrared, you want as much infrared sunlight as possible. So you don't put anything on the windows for passive solar. If you live in a place where it's really hot in the day and the night's really cold, and you don't want that heat that you let in with passive solar to go back out, there's an e-coating. You can put a slider e-coating on one of the surfaces that will keep the heat from going out but allow it to go in. And I think it's the inside surface or the outside surface of the inside pane, because that allows the sun to get inside the first pane and heat that air up in the middle. And so that allows heat to come in, but when the heat's starting to leave on the inside, it hits that thing. So then there's egress, EGRESS we talked about. That means to exit, emergency exit, egress exit. And bedrooms have to have it because they often have only one door into them. And if there's a fire in the hallway or the rest of the house, you can't get out without burning. So and especially when you're sleeping, you may not know about the fire until the last minute. So they want you to have a way out of the building from all bedrooms. So, and they want that exit to be not too high off the ground, because you have to be able to scramble out the window, and they have to be a minimum size so you can actually squeeze through it. And the minimum size is 3 feet square. It can be any shape, but it has to be, the square footage has to be 3 feet. I think. Now let me look that up. Look that up. It's on. There's the sheet I handed you, the window handout. The last page, last 2 pages were on egress and types of glass.
Home Depot says 5.7.
Okay, so the 3 foot's what I have on the test, which means that's a false answer. It's a true and false question, so I probably put the too small a thing. So it's not 3 feet, it's 5 feet. I'm going to leave it at 3 feet so you'll know to answer false to it. Yeah, 3 feet. 3 feet. What's the square root of 3 feet? 1.5.
1.71.
Yeah, that's not very big to squeeze out of, is it? That's like 18 inches square.
Zach, you found 5.7 off Home Depot's website?
Yeah, I'll link it.
God.
I think
guys-
I'm looking at the same thing.
Okay, but it's not 3. It's bigger than 3.
So it's 20 inches wide by 24 inches high,
It has to be that?
with an opening no higher than 44 inches from the floor.
Okay, 44 inches from the floor, 20 by 24 is
Minimum.
2 by 1.5.
Yeah,
That's 3. Well, that's 3 square feet, right?
yeah. it's
24 by 20?
20 inches wide by 24 inches high. With an
Yeah,
That's
that's
3 and a
about-
third.
That's 3 1/3.
yeah, I don't know why it's saying it must be at least 5.7 square feet, and then it says that.
Well, it may just have to be those dimensions minimum, because you could have like a 1 inch wide window by 5.7 feet tall.
Yeah. Right. I'm gonna change the test to say 2 feet square. So it'll be obvious that's not a right answer.
So it'll still be false.
And then safety glass, you have those restrictions on one of those sheets also, and they can't be within 24 inches. Darn it, I'm these are true and false, so I'm reading them. They may be, I don't know if they're true or false. Somebody look at that, get that sheet on your window handout. Can somebody do that? It might be 24 inches of an exterior door. Let's make sure. Most of my true or false are true if you've noticed over the years. So that one's probably true. 24 inches. Why do you think they want safety glass right next to a door?
Because when you slam the door, you don't want to break the glass.
Yeah, that's my guess too. You slam a door, which we all do. If you got a giant window next to it, it's liable to crack. So awnings and sunscreens, some of these we didn't describe, but I could have left them off and done other questions, but I actually think they're good information. So people put awnings outside their window, and then they use the awnings in the summer when the sun's up high and the awning will do it. I mean, they can have permanent awnings too. And when the winter sun's lower, it'll get under the sun, under the awning, or some people have canvas awnings that they can take on and off by the season. But those really help keep hot sun out of your house if that's a problem. Sunscreens and awnings. Sunscreens or anything that screens design. You've seen those decorative block walls, you know, they're half empty space and some kind of design. You guys seen those? Santa Barbara State Street has a lot of those because a lot of those buildings were built in the 70s and 80s, and they were really big on, they call them brise soleil, the French term, but we call them sunscreens. And they're block, and they just let the sun filter in so it doesn't come in. It cuts off about half of it. And they look really cool. You guys have seen those, right? They're like the banks will have them. They'll have a little wall outside the building, right next to the building, different angles. I think they're really nice looking, but they're not in vogue right now, design wise. Probably because we've got e-glass. Oh well. Okay, trees. What kind of tree is best to shade a house? Evergreen or deciduous? Evergreens, like its name says, it's always leafed, it's always green. So if you're going to shade it, that's probably better than the deciduous, which drops its leaves in fall, like maple, back east maple leaves do. We didn't talk about storm windows. They don't use them here, but any place that's cold, they use them. Back east, they use them a lot. And all it is an extra pane of glass that's screwed onto the window in the winter. On the outside, they have a frame and it's made, and you just take them out of the basement and you screw them on. And it adds a little bit of airspace in there. And sometimes they have weather stripping around it to make them tight, and often they don't. But even when they don't, even though the air can circulate a little, it still acts as a buffer, kind of like a double pane. So it kind of adds to the R value of that window opening. And speaking of window frames, one of the things we didn't talk about too much, just mentioned it slightly, was on that sticker on the windows, now they've added a new value. And that's the leakiness of the window. Because we're getting down to saving smaller and smaller amounts of energy because of global warming. So, and now we know that we can make tight windows. So the frame doesn't have gaps, and it's really, they're made more, they're made better. So, and okay, I'm going to cross that question out. I don't like it. It's whether they considered a major source of air leak. Well, it depends on, you know, if your house is like an average house, no. But if you're trying a passive house, it'd be yes, it's a major source. So that's not a good question. I'll do another one. One I'll probably use is in its place is heat pumps. Can you guys tell me how heat pumps work, just in the most basic terms? Do they combust something?
There's no heat, right?
Say a heat pump heater, not an air conditioner or a water heater. Do they burn something, combust something?
No, right? They
Right,
like
no.
compress something.
Yeah, so it's, the mechanism is probably too complex for any of us to understand, but basically they can extract, this is a good word, they extract heat that's in the air, which is unbelievable, but that's what they do. they can, if there's any heat in the air on, it doesn't have to be very hot. They can extract that in the process and then pump just that heat into the house. That's how they work. And they work in cold weather, so they're obviously getting heat out of even cold weather. And the same with air conditioners work the same way. They get coldness out of, they extract coldness from the weather too. So that technology is great. I don't know who the hell figured that out. It's pretty sophisticated, but it's pretty commonplace now. Okay, we didn't talk about sealing door frames, but where do you suppose the biggest leak in a door is? Out exterior door. Any guesses?
Is it around the sides of it? Because the
Well, it
bottom,
could be, but probably the bottom. Because when houses shift a little bit, you know, they sink a little, and sometimes that front door will be not square and the bottom will be a little askew. And we make, they have these sweeps, and you can put it, they're kind of U-shaped with a rubber piece that sticks down, and you can put them on the bottom of a door and adjust them to fit the floor and screw them in, and they will just prevent the, well, not completely, but a really huge amount. They'll prevent air from coming in. So those sweeps, you can get them at Home Depot, and they're really easy to install on a door. A lot of times the pre-hung doors from Home Depot have those sweeps on them. I think, I'm not sure, but they're easy to get. So that's usually the biggest leak down at the bottom. The sides can leak too, but you know, they have weather stripping and that usually lasts for some reason. Capillary action, because it's a pressure, it's a sucking of water through pressure and not through gravity. It can pull water in any direction. So it fools people because they think, well, water's not going to go up because it obviously flows with gravity, but it can go up if there's a pressure difference. A small crack can suck water up. It happens in concrete slabs, and it'll happen anywhere, wood. Excessive moisture in a crawl space can be a problem, true or false?
True.
Yeah, and the main problem would probably be mold, right? Rain gardens and pervious ground material can help return rainwater to underground water table. What do you think?
Did you
True.
say impervious?
Pervious, not
Oh.
impervious, pervious, right? Pervious means water goes through it. So rain gardens where water sits. So true, right? So if you have clay soil like Goleta, it's pretty dense clay. But if you let it sit for a couple of days, it will permeate. It's just very slow. So if you have a rain garden, if you have a depression where you can let that water sit, it'll actually sink into the ground faster than it'll evaporate. So those rain gardens are really great, no matter what the soil.
hey, I found the answer to that safety glass question.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's within the 24-inch arc of the door, it has
Okay.
to.
So that was a true one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you. Name two parts of a typical rainwater collection system. So what's a rainwater collection system first? Where are you collecting it from?
Typically your roof.
Yeah, typically from your roof. Yeah. Was that you, Zach?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, thanks.
You catch it in your mouth, right?
Yeah, so you get it and you get and then you get it from the gutters, goes to downspout, and then you can collect it in barrels at the bottom. So that if you know the process, you'd automatically know the parts of it. Right? And you only have to name two. Is there such thing as pervious concrete that will allow water to go through it?
Yes.
Yes, yes, there is. Oregon or Portland, one of the state or the city, for a while had it required for new construction. I don't know what's happened. Those things come and go. They come and then they get more conservative legislatures that don't believe in global warming and saving water, and then they'll veto those. So it goes back and forth. But it's interesting that it's been a requirement in places. What is a drainage plane? So I'm going to explain that. I think some of you already know. Plane is like a what is a plane? How would you a mathematical plane? It's a
Surface.
surface area. Would that be a good explanation?
Yeah.
Okay. So a drainage plane is how water drains on a surface. It's a fancy name. I wish they wouldn't have named it that because it's confused everything. But drainage plane originally meant it was the interface, because the plane's often an interface. It was the interface of the house and the water. Now it's become rather than an abstract delimitation, now it's become a thing, like what is in that drainage plane. So now the drainage plane is whatever you're doing on that wall to make water drain. So it wasn't a good term and it's evolving. So that's why I wanted to talk about it for you. So, but in terms of construction, it's whatever you're using on that plane to keep water from getting into the house. So name me some components of that. What do we use typically in building now to keep the house waterproof from rain, driving rain?
The house wrap, Tyvek?
Yeah, house wrap Tyvek. So that won't allow bulk water to come in. So that's really a great thing we're using. And then if you have stucco, you pretty much just put the stucco over the house wrap. I think they make a tougher one for underlayment for stucco, but it's still the same theory. But if you have like siding, which some houses still have, Santa Barbara, it's still split. If you have siding, sometimes the siding can be compromised. It can be the joints of siding, or a knot will fall out of siding. You know, if it's cedar siding, they have knots. Our tiny home had a bunch of knots in it. Water can, pelting rain can sometimes get in those. So that, if it's got Tyvek behind it, that will probably keep it from going in the house, but it won't keep it from rotting the back of the siding. So the best practice for a drainage plane for a house with siding is to space it out with spacers. So you have a 3/8 or 1/2 inch space between the siding and the house where air can get up there and dry it, and also allow the water to drop down and out. So they call that whole assembly a drainage plane. So when I say, what is a drainage plane, you can answer that. And then I might say, describe the current best practice drainage plane. I should put with siding. I'll add that. So that's what I just described.
Would
And we
you
have-
say the spacer measurement was again?
Well, it's not critical, but it should be at least like a quarter, more like 3/8 or 1/2 would be better. So a lot of times, like for the tiny home, I just took a piece of 1/2 inch plywood and I just ripped it in a bunch of 2-inch strips. It's pretty inexpensive that way,
Did the knots in the wood, like, are there holes in them or something that the pelting rain can get through?
Yeah, the knots just fall out and there's a hole in the siding.
Okay.
So if water get in there, it could, capillary action operates there and it could suck it down in the area around it. And then the water would just sit and it would be dark. And you don't want water and darkness to be together. Because then these little creepy crawlies that love those conditions will come in and start eating the wood. Why don't all exterior windows cause overheating? Did I ask this before? I looked at the midterm and I didn't see it on there, but give me an answer.
What was the question again?
There's two answers. Why don't all exterior windows cause overheating?
If they're on the north side of the house?
They could be on the non-sun side, so that's one answer. That's the one I was looking for. But what else would allow them not to overheat? If they had E coating on them, right? That was blocking it. So those are reasons why. It's kind of driving at the fact, the underlying piece of information is that where windows are and how they're, what kind of glass there are really makes a difference to weather. And that's one of them. If you have an emergency egress bedroom window, you probably shouldn't put a storm window on it, right? Because storm windows screw in from the outside. And if you had a window that opened in, which windows do, or a double hung, then that would be in your way, wouldn't it? That storm window. So you don't want to put a storm window on your or one that can't be kicked out on your egress window. Okay, safety glass and regular glass difference.
When you break safety glass, it's safer.
Yeah, it's safer because it breaks in little chunks. So you can get cut from it, but you won't get a artery, you know. Regular glass can come off in chunks that look like knives, big giant knives. And if they hit you just right, they could cut an artery. So safety glass is the way to go.
Hey, Patrick, is safety glass the same as tempered glass?
No, they're different, but they're both safety glasses, but they're made differently. And I can't never remember what the difference is. But
Oh, what were you gonna say?
one has some it's layered and have something inside it.
Do you happen to
So
know?
like windshield?
Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
windshields are safety glass, aren't they?
Believe so.
Yeah.
Do you happen to
Don't
know?
worry about it. I'm using safety glass for both here. Yeah.
You happen to know anything about stained glass, like how that affects the infiltration of the sunlight and the heat?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know per se, but we could reason it out. I mean, you've got a coating on the window, right? So
I'm thinking about like churches with the stained glass windows, you know?
yeah, those are made. How are those made? Are they painted?
Because usually I think it's colored glass portions, right?
Yeah.
They
yeah.
use. And it's
Well,
usually,
in the cathedrals, they painted on top of the color. They would paint figures and stuff, you know, like the outline of men and horses. But you're right. The glass. Does anybody do stained glass here? It comes in colored glass, so they must put some kind of chemical in the glass mixture. Yeah.
yeah, must be.
But I think it would. Well, here's a question. If when you look through stained glass, if it cuts down the visibility, which it does, then it's gonna cut down on the heat. See, we're scientists. We can figure this stuff out.
Construction tech, right? Science.
Yeah,
Science degree. It's an AF.
building science, man. That's where we're at. Why must you use low expanding can spray foam around doors and windows? We talked about this, and if you're young, you may not know this because you've been alive with all the new cans, but they used to just have one kind when it first came out, and it expanded so fast that people put too much in, and then it would bow the window frames. So now you have to get one, and it just, they make it so easy. They don't even say low expanding. They just say 4 windows and doors, which means it's low expanding. So weatherization, that's the old kind of building performance. They still use the word, they still have weatherization programs. Saves money spent on wasted energy. Yeah. Makes homes more comfortable. Yeah. Minimizes carbon footprint. Yeah. All of the above. I guess 3 yeahs make a yeah. Okay. Even homes in the Rocky Mountains can overheat in winter with too many south-facing windows. True or false?
I mean, it just depends on the ratio between how much heat you're letting in versus letting out. So if it's high enough, yes.
Yeah, so I say it can overheat. So that means if there are instances, so yeah, you're right. So in the old, before they had e-glass, people used to go to the Rockies, and you can imagine the views people have in those mountains and hills, right? And they would just load up the south face with windows for that view. And then they would suffer all the infrared that came in that amount of space. So yeah, now we have e-glass. And I don't know if it could happen if people didn't put coats on because they wanted passive solar, right?
Patrick, what's it called? Is it like thermal mass or whatever too inside of a structure? I know you talked about it in your green building course. Like if you have like the Rocky Mountain question, if you have like solid granite walls inside or something, that even if it's -40 outside, but you just have this giant chunk of granite absorbing heat all day.
Yes.
The structure can overheat.
That would obviate it. Yes. Good point. We'll talk. Yeah, you're right. We will talk about that more in the green building, but because I'm a real passive solar fan, but you got to have that mass to absorb that heat, because if it just stays as ambient heat, it's reflected off the walls and just stays in the air, you're going to suffer. But yeah, if you can get enough rock behind it, you're good. I think it's fascinating. We've looked at this for years. The ratio of mass and how you can get mass in there. And then even though it has mass, the mass will release the heat to the outside slowly. So they've tried a million things to slow it down at night and to speed it up during the day. And I find it really fascinating what they've tried. And, like the house I told you about, which we'll cover again in the 122 in Massachusetts, where they had bottles of water, like drinking water, in the attic, and then they had a special attic that let the light in but kept the heat from going out. They had these Mylar shades, and it heated those carboy. They call them carboys. I don't know if that's a term we use here. So much that they fanned it down to the rock in the basement. They just fanned it straight down, and the rocks absorbed it. And then the rocks took all night to. They had such a huge glass roof absorbing so much heat, and then they had such a big rock supply in the base that it absorbed enough heat that it took all night for the heat to go out, and went through a greenhouse on the way out. So they never had any problem. And so we've actually have that solution, but people have tried a lot of different things with trom walls and water walls and to keep that heat in from going out. I think the best thing is to have enough mass that you just let it go out, but it'll take a long time. That's the simplest. But mass costs money, and it's hard to design in a lot of rock, right, in a house. Sheetrock walls are good, but the light often hits the floor. So concrete floors are good, but not everybody likes the feel of concrete floors. So there's a lot of variables, but I find it really interesting to figure that out. Why does putting argon or krypton gas between the panes and very energy efficient windows do? What does putting that in between the panes too. Anybody?
It's like harder for heat to, or yeah, radiation to get through those gas
Yeah.
molecules because they're
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, because it's a vacuum if there's no gas in there, and so it just radiates right across the gap. And if there's something in there, gases, and these gases are heavier than air, so they kind of stay suspended. And also, there's a convection loop that happens too with air when air's in there, and that allows a lot of the heat to sort of bypass the window and go to the coldest part and out. And these gases prevent that too. They prevent the convection.
Have you ever heard of like a lifespan for those windows?
No,
Like, it's kind of hard to like, make a perfect vacuum or something. There's gotta
Yes.
like the gas has gotta leak out at some point, right?
it does leak out. They do have a lifespan. And, people don't use them around here, so I've never had a reason to really bone up on that. But you could just look that up easy enough on the internet. The longevity of Krypton or argon windows, and they get better all the time because they're making tighter windows, but obviously you can't prevent. It's on a molecular level, so you can't prevent it completely. And then there's problems with altitude too, because that changes the pressure. So I've never, they intuitively don't seem like a long range solution. So I've never really got excited about it, but people do get excited. Yeah.
It says they leak out in 20 years and need to be refilled.
Oh, so that's not bad. 20 years, if that's true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
It says they leak about like 1% a year or something like that.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, I'm sure they leaked a lot more in the past and they've perfected it to that. That's not bad, actually.
It has to retain 80% of its gas to be effective. So.
Oh, okay. So that means, oh yeah, so 20 years. Yeah, got it. Cool. Okay, which of the following does sustainable landscaping perform? A, conserve water. B, improve soil health. C, create wildlife habitat. All of the above. All of the above.
Yeah, that would be all the above.
That would be all of the above. And then the last one is, why is mulch beneficial to your garden?
Makes it harder for weeds to take hold for one.
Yeah, that's good. Harder for weeds. Keeps moisture in the ground. It won't evaporate as much. Also, it's organic, so it has bugs, has life in it. So that's always good to have on your yard. Yeah, for those reasons. Then I've got a few that I had to take from another test because we didn't cover it and I didn't like some of them. So I've got one, which of the following is not a type of radiation that comes through windows? And I've got the three we did, and I've got X-rays. Do X-rays come through windows?
No.
We better hope not. X-rays don't, but gamma rays do from space. They're a small wavelength too, but for some reason they don't, they're going through us a million a minute, our whole life. For some reason, we're designed well. We've evolved a great design and they just go through us and they don't seem to cause any damage that I know of. There's a lot of radiation out in the universe, I'll tell you. There was a guy at UCLA, what was that guy's name? He was a scientist. He was a really major scientist. What's that guy's name? Come on.
Need more info than just UCLA scientist.
What was his field of study or expertise?
Feynman. Feynman? Forget his first name. He was a physicist. And he used to give lectures at UCLA, really famous lectures, because he was really good at putting that stuff in accessible language. But one of his examples once was he listed all the radiation that's going through you every minute. It was pretty funny. Radio waves, gamma waves, solar radiation. I mean, we get pelted, but the universe works out that it doesn't kill us outright.
Was one of them Wi-Fi waves?
Probably.
I always hear people that are
And
worried
then
about
the waves from the electrical towers, all that. And geez,
yeah, the
right.
evil
So
5G.
damn 5G, yeah.
Yeah. Has anybody researched that? The extra impact of 5G?
I have some clients that will not have Wi-Fi at their house because they're worried about it.
Well, I don't doubt that probably affects you, but it's how long it takes. If you have a fighting chance, it's probably worth it.
I mean, if
I have
you
a
were
friend-
if you were like that, you couldn't go on SBCC's campus because the whole campus is Wi-Fi.
I know. You can't go a lot of places. Alec, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say I have a friend who's very health conscious. I think she's kind of a hypochondriac, but
Yeah.
she's very against 5G.
Yeah.
She says a lot of her illnesses are due to wave wave forms and cell
Yeah.
signal and
Yeah.
getting migraines and stuff. She's also, for that same reason, she's also not the biggest fan of electric vehicles, just because there hasn't been enough studies on like lithium ion batteries and what those
Interesting.
emit
Yeah.
and how they affect.
I'm sure there haven't been, because when we get something that's that great in other ways, we don't want to mix the negative reviews, so we just sort of don't research that side of it.
Alec, does she think there's waves coming off of them or something?
I guess so. I'm not exactly sure what she thinks. She was telling me about this program in Santa Barbara now. It's called Safe Tech Santa Barbara County, and their website's safetechsbc.org. And I think they advocate for kind of like anti-5G and more studies about 5G before putting up more cell phone towers and
Isn't it too late? I mean, aren't we going full hog with that?
yeah, probably.
This is the thing. I know this is the thing about. I mean, I thought, well, why do we want everything to go so fast? I mean, if you guys had lived through, and this is where I can brag. I lived through the beginning of the internet, and I know what slow communication is. And believe me, all along the way, it's been fine. It just keeps upgraded. And, it's mostly a geopolitical thing, right? Because the Chinese have it. And so then we have to have it to compete. It probably has something to do with weapon systems too, I'm sure. All that shit drives all this technology. We don't really need half this shit as normal human beings, but we get caught up in this. Well, I don't need to tell you guys, but we get caught up in this and it costs a lot of money. I mean, right now it's probably great because it's going to put people to work, but we don't research this stuff, at all. We still are arguing about, those giant power lines that go down, they put 100 feet on each side to go down to housing tracks, right? We still don't know what kind of damage, if any, those things do. And probably because that research is so, when you get something like that, where you get a lot of money, like an energy company backing it, they're going to do all these false studies to keep people from tearing them down. And so you're going to get so much bad science mixed in that they never get resolved because people say, well, there's both things apparently are true or not true, or you know what I mean? It's really kind of too bad. Anyway, let me do a few more and then we'll get on here. Here's one. To minimize heat in the house on hot days, open the windows and shades all day. What do you think?
No.
False.
No. Now that's a little bit counterintuitive because I didn't even believe that when I first read it years ago. Because we like fresh air, so we open everything up. It's a nice day. But actually, if it's a hot day, that's going to let all that heat in. And so really, if you want your house to be comfortable, especially if you leave to go to work and you don't have to even be in your house, shut everything down. Get home, it'll be cool. Okay, loose fitting sash locks, double hung windows. I don't know if raise your hand or shout out if you have a double hung window in your house. Am I the only one? Come on, you guys. Do you know what they are? The two vertical panes that run by each other, double hung? Nobody's got any of those?
I have one, or I have two. Yeah.
So that's what this question's about. So maybe it's not even relevant anymore. If they got a little lock on them, and if when you close them, if that lock doesn't pressure them tight into the weather stripping, you should replace it. Because there'll be an air leak there. Those are notorious for leaking. And I just decided to leave that on the test so I could talk about it. Name 3 conditions requiring safety glass. 24 inches of a door, we know that, thanks to Lewis. What other places? It's on that page, I think closer to the ground than 6 inches or something is one. Also on a walkway, if the walkway is within a foot of the house, I think it has to be safety glass. Because kids will play along there, they'll kick soccer balls, but it's all on that page. So look up 3. Also, those side lights, well, those are within 2 feet in the door, so that would automatically be it. Attic. Does anybody have that worksheet, the window worksheet handy? Was there something about ventilation requirements on there? I think there was. It's a proportion of your attic floor space.
Let's see.
Or Lewis, you could just look up attic ventilation requirements. Hey, Miguel, is that your family in your picture?
Yes, sir. It's my baby girls.
Wow, great looking kids. Lucky you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 2 nice girls.
For now, wait till they get older.
I know. That's what they always say, Girls are great when they're young, and then they have all the problems that our society gives to them.
I always joke around like, I'm gonna end up back in prison again with these kids. The first little boy that comes knocking, he's gonna get chased off.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. Those are really cute girls. Lucky you. Okay.
What was the question again, Patrick? Well, I found the answer, so I just want to make sure.
What was it? Oh, damn it.
Did you lose it?
Was it the safety glass? Oh, no.
No, the attic ventilation, right?
Oh, attic ventilation. What are the requirements for attic ventilation?
Is it 1 square foot ventilation openings for every 150 square foot of floor space?
Okay, so that's it. 1 foot of ventilation for every 100 square feet of attic floor. Or if you have a gable roof and you have the vents on the gable side, the triangle side, if you put 1 toward the top of the gable and 1 toward the bottom, you can get away with 75, 1 foot for every 300 feet. So you need half as much size ventilation if you stagger them. I think those are the only 2.
Can you say that one more time so I can wrap my head?
Yeah. If it's 1 foot for 150 in general, but if you stagger the vents in the attic, so one's higher than another, so the hot air can rise coming through. It'll flow better, and they're allowing you 1 foot for every 300 feet, or half a foot for every 150 feet. So you don't have to have as big a opening, total opening. I thought it was 100 or 150. Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so that's it for the exam. I'm sure you guys will do great. Let me, it's 7:19. Should we just go straight through? I'll just go through, I'll just go in a hurry. 15, 20 minutes, can we do that? And then we'll be off. Is that okay with everybody? I mean, you go get food or bathroom anyway, so let me set these up real quick. So we were going to talk about career opportunities. And the things I wanted to show you were HERS raters, what that consists of and where to get training. LEAD, just a little brief. These are just, I go to the websites and they have like 1-page orientations. And then BPI, those are the 3 most places you could get career opportunity. And then there's a thing called, the US Department of Energy has a thing called home energy. I can read my writing here. Home energy score. So they've got this rating system, the score system that you can compare houses. So real estate people can use it as a marketing, or when you want to buy a house, you can use it. If you can get them to do it, or they've already done it, it'll score it and compare it to other homes in terms of the things we've been talking about, energy efficiency and that kind of stuff. So let me just show you a few of these pages and then we'll go home. Hold on. Okay, so so home energy rating system, HERS, we've talked about this, has providers, and this is under the California Energy Commission. This is what I showed you last time, but they have their own websites. Let's see if I can find it. Anyway, the 2 people that provide training for this and oversee HERS are, in California, it's CalCerts. Can you guys see this screen okay?
Yeah.
They originally were CalCerts and CHEERS, that's an acronym, were the programs that train, and CalCerts is kind of taken over. You can see there's more stuff, but I think there's places where you can get, where CHEERS will train also. Why is this? Nah, that's not it. Oh yeah, here it's better. Okay, so this is the CalCerts website, and it'll talk about training. See, look, it's interesting. They've got CalCerts training, HERS certificates, and they've got BPI and EPI. Wow, they've got everything sort of listed all there. But down here you can see the HERS information. So go to these sites if you're interested in this stuff. Again, these are tangential careers to building. And if a lot of you guys have been working and taking classes in construction technology, and if you like construction itself, then that's your career goal. That's totally great. We need carpenters and builders like crazy. If you've been doing that, you could also, if you want, also use your computer skills and maybe math skills if you're good in those. There's a lot of training that your construction background will be really useful for. You'd make a much better HERS rater or BPI person the more construction you know. So it would definitely have value for those. Let me go to, I'm going to make this brief. Let's go to. Now, can you guys see anything on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
You see that girl's walking with the guy?
Yeah.
Okay. So down here where my cursor is, United States Green Building, whatever C stands for, company, USGBC. That was one of the original green building associations, and LEED came out of that. You know, that's not the one I want either. So LEED has I can't find the website I wanted, but LEED has a, so let me explain it this way. Damn it. I wish I could find that. LEED has certificates and credentials. So only the homes or commercial buildings have certificates, and they're going to be platinum, gold, silver for a point system, right? And it's a point system of all the stuff we've been learning about building performance. And then the credentials are things that contractors and realtors and people can get, you know, to show that they've taken training and LEED ideas, and so that they're good advisors that way. So you have the credentials and the certificates. And so you can look into that. You can look into the no, we don't want oh, green careers. Let's check that. Yeah, these are Seymour careers. So the ones we've talked about were energy auditors. But these are jobs that aren't solely green, but having LEED credentials or any credentials might embellish them, like landscape architects. I mean, landscaping is pretty green to begin with, but there's probably more that could be. Sustainability specialists, that's like the group that's putting on those things. And you could open your own company or work for someone with credentials. You'd have to get, LEED or BPI or something credential. But if you did that along with your building background, you could get into that particular career track. Energy auditor we talked about before. Facilities manager, that might be a good thing to have for that. And I've had students go into facilities management. That's a big field, actually. Chief sustainability officer. I wonder if that's in a construction company. I've never heard of that. Anyway. Let's go back. This is a ZAC Academy, no relation to our ZAC, but this is a private company that trains for certification, and they'll help you do it. But BPI has their own. I'm not sure why you would need to go through ZAC Academy. So let's see if we can find. Okay, so this is Building Performance Institute. We've talked about this quite a bit. And say we take, they've got different certificates. I think I've got a building analyst. It might be a different one now. It's shell specialist. They changed a little bit. All these involve tests, but this is something when I was looking at this to prepare tonight, I wrote through here and I saw this rating program, which I didn't know about, but apparently BPI is sort of overlapping with HERS raters. See, they're a rater also, and they're using a Department of Energy home energy score program. I was telling you about that. And they've created their own home energy score. So it's like HERS, except they rate, so they can go in and rate places. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, BPI is one of the more involved. Envelope professional. Does that mean you're really good at mailing letters? Aha. Let's see what the BPI perks are. Maybe affiliated with these places. So Better Buildings, U.S. Department of Energy. So they have a couple of websites, and I'm trying to track down this home energy score, and trying to remember how I did it before class. Oh yeah, here we go. So the summary of the score would be something like this. and you'd have the score. It's always on a 1 to 10 basis. And so you'd have a score today of a 3. And then if you did all the stuff they said you could do, you could get a score of 7 and you'd save 573. So you'd work all that out, mathematically to make sure it was worthwhile improving, unless you just wanted to. So our score methodology, this just shows what they came up with. Let me see if I can find a home energy score is an asset rating seeking to quantify the energy efficiency of a building based solely upon the inherent components of the house. The scoring tool captures data on insulation levels and heating equipment efficiencies, but does not take into account thermostat settings, appliances, or plug loads, because the energy used to operate these components can vary widely. And blah, blah, blah. So they obviously compensate for home size and climate location. And then they just, they'll give you cost savings for various scenarios of fixing up your house, and then they'll give you carbon saving for greenhouse warming results also. But anyway, it's just, it's a similar thing, like all these audits and everything, because the quantified categories in building performance are all the same. They're insulation levels, right? They're performance of your air conditioning and heating, your water heating. Everybody's now got a software that you plug in the parameters in your house and you can get the results. So anyway, that was new to me. I didn't know the Department of Energy had this home score, but those are the main contenders, those organizations. Department of Energy, California Energy, CEC, HERS, Raiders, CalCerts and HERS, and then LEED and Building Performance Institute. Those are the biggest and oldest programs. So if you're interested in building performance in itself, not just as something to aid your construction careers that you have now, those are the places to look into that. You never know what people are going to want to do, You might get an injury, right? On the job, heaven forbid it happens. And then you might want to do something that's less physical. And if you have computer skills and software skills, and this class will at least give you a basis to think about that stuff. And so those are possibilities. They're going to keep getting more possibilities because, we've got this Build Back Better coming up, and already we've got money in the infrastructure thing to improve our home performance. So all these things are going to be at the forefront of building. So either you do it in your construction company, and I foresee, like Dennis Allen did, a lot of branches in each company. They have an OSHA branch that deals with all the safety regulations, and they have a lot of reportage they have to do to the government. And they're going to have the same thing with sustainability, not too long. So that could be a niche in a company you're already in, or in a larger company, where you wouldn't have to start all this stuff yourself. You could just use the information you have and nab that job and keep training for that. So those are maybe places you turn further along in your career. But you need to be aware of it, because we're really, I've got this book, and I'll talk about it in next semester's class, how this guy, and I'll use this book as the beginning of the class, how this guy has taken all the data from all the climate and shown what we have to do as a society step by step in everything, whether it's transportation, building, farming, what we will have to do to meet these goals that climate scientists say are the goals. We have 10 years. They've got it pretty quantified now with temperatures, right? Increase in Fahrenheit. And it's getting pretty formalized. So we've been kind of dicking around with it for a long time, unfortunately, thinking we had more time, thinking everybody would do it, and then nobody was doing it. And people like Greta Thunberg, you know, the young girl, just got up there and said, this is bullshit. You know, we're really still not doing anything. And you adults need to get off your ass because it's our children's world that you're fucking up. And so it's pretty important. So we'll just go into a little bit of that as the beginning of that class, and then we'll talk about building, how green building. It's a little bit bigger than building performance, you know, because there's a lot of, there's more stuff. It's not all science in green building. And we'll have field trip. We'll have Saturdays for field trips and also things we want to show in person. I mean, the whole class will be in person, but lab type things we'll do on a Saturday. Okay, any questions about tonight? And you guys asked a lot of questions tonight. It was good. And so you should be able to prepare, have your handouts accessible, especially the window one, because that had a lot of data. And I think you'll do fine. And I'll be available. You don't need to come to class, the Zoom. I'll have the Zoom up and I'll be just sitting around doing what I do. And if you have a question or a problem confuses you, come see me and I'll explain it to you. But otherwise, just go straight to the test on the Canvas platform. Yeah. And you guys want me to open it early, like 5 or 5:30?
Yep.
I'll try 5, but at the latest 5:30. I've got a busy week, but at least 5:30, but maybe 5, and then you can start early if you want. So you should do fine because you'll have me to ask questions of if you get stuck. And remember, this is for Dylan Mitchell. It's a shout out for Dylan. If you get frustrated, oh, we're getting a little work done in the background here. If you get, or maybe it's a kid dancing. That could be someone dancing. Miguel, is that your kids dancing?
Yeah, they're running around me right now. Sorry.
So this is for Dylan. So, and everybody who gets frustrated with tests and just kind of says, well, I don't know if I can swear if his kids are in the room, but heck with it and gives up. Try to answer everything. Just stick with it. Just throw in any kind of answer rather than leave something blank. That's just basic 101 test taking. And I know you guys get frustrated by things, but just try that because it might give you a few extra points. Okay, any last minute questions or we're gonna buzz out? You good?
Can you confirm the day? Is it next week?
Yes, next Monday.
Got it.
And I'm gonna try to get it on open at 5 or 5:30 so you can come early, start taking the test early. Okay. Oh, let me take roll real quick. Miguel, obviously he's here. I've been talking about his kids. Jesus, are you here? Alec,
Here.
Dan, Lewis, Jack Flores, did you make it tonight? Adyar's here, Zach's here, Eric Mendez, you're here, right? Yes, of course. Dylan's here, Joel's here. Michael Silva, did you make it tonight? He might have told me he was not going to make it. Okay. Jose Nunez. Yeah, there you are. John Tapia. Yep, John's here. And Austin. Anybody's name I didn't say? I think we're all good. Okay? All right. Hey, have a good week.
Thanks.
Do all of you get Thanksgiving off probably Thursday, right? Do any of you get Wednesday or Friday off?
Friday.
Friday,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, so good. Have a good weekend with your family. Those of you who have families, big families to celebrate. And the weather's been great. So it's usually good around Thanksgiving. So let's hope it continues into the week. And we'll see you guys next Monday night. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
All
All right,
Patrick.
have a good one.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
too.
Patrick.
All right. Bye-bye.